Hello and welcome back to our Lord of the Rings LCG solo progression series. And today's quest is the nightmare version of the Watcher in the Water, which was the third adventure pack in the Dwerdalf cycle. A quick reminder, in this series we're playing through each quest in chronological order of the game's initial release, and we'll only be using player cards that were available at the time of this quest release. I'm calling this deck Squid Wardens. A little bit of a tip of the hat to SpongeBob SquarePants. I can further justify, I guess, the deck name by saying that a warden is someone who guards a place or a thing, is how it's defined. So in this deck, in the nightmare version of the Watcher in the Water, we have to actually not just explore a place, Doors of Durin, but we have to destroy a thing. But honestly, I'm just trying to figure out a way to use Squidward in the deck name. So this nightmare version of the Watcher in the Water makes just one drastic change, really, and that's that you can't cheese your way past the Watcher. You can't just deal with the location, Doors of Durin. You actually have to do that and destroy the Watcher in the Water. And so we're going to have to use Boromir and Gondorian Fire to do that. It's not a really hard nightmare quest at all. It's pretty close to impossible to lose with this deck. But so a little disappointed that this one didn't get a really nice upgrade in terms of difficulty, and even made it a little different. It plays almost the same. In fact, this deck is pretty much the same strategy as the original deck, just the inclusion of Boromir and Gondorian Fire and a few other cards make it different. One of those cards is Straight Shot. Is a zero-cost tactics event. Action: exhaust a weapon attachment to choose a non-unique enemy with 0 defense. Discard the chosen enemy. Now that action can be taken during any action window, and the enemy can be any non-unique enemy, whether it's engaged with you or in staging or engaged with another player. Some quests this does nothing because you have no 0 defense enemies. It's very rare to see that, but when you have as many as this quest has, it's a must include. And so definitely when I started thinking about building the deck, I thought, well, Straight Shot has to be there. And Boromir makes just a lot of sense against this nightmare version of the Watcher. Well, let's get to the quest and see how we do. Opening hand is pretty good. I mean, I like that I have a feint. Mostly I'm just excited to see Peace and Thought. We can get a lot of cards drawn that way. I think this is probably a good opening hand. I'll stick with it. Here's the setup card for the nightmare version of this quest. We remove the following cards in the following quantities and shuffle in the nightmare cards. It tells us we are playing nightmare mode. And it's worth mentioning we've removed all the non-tentacle enemies. Black Oryx, Mountain Warg, those ones really, those 7 enemies. So that means all the enemies will be tentacles, so much more thematic. You are playing nightmare mode while Doors of Durin is in play. The Watcher cannot be engaged. That'll only matter for stage 2. Forced: when a tentacle enemy is destroyed, deal 1 damage to the Watcher if it is in play. Again, only matters in stage 2. Players cannot win the game unless both Doors of Durin and the Watcher are in the victory display. So there's the big change. To the West Door says, Elrond has asked you to scout the mines of Moria on your return to Lorien, hoping to discover if it is the source of increased orc activity along the Misty Mountains. For setup, remove the Watcher and Doors of Durin from the encounter deck and set them aside out of play. All right, it's the same card from the original quest, this Doors of Durin, and it does all the same things that did. We'll see it later. But here's a new nightmare version of the Watcher, significantly dirtier water, and a significantly more difficult enemy. So we'll have to deal with this guy. Per this text. Both have to be in the victory display. 13 progress needed. We'll turtle here for a while. Your approach is blocked by a dark lake that slumbers beneath the face of the cliffs. You must search for a way around the water. When revealed, reveal cards from the encounter deck and add them to the staging area until there is at least X threat in the staging area. X is going to be twice the number of players in the game. So we're looking for 2 threat. And we got it immediately with a choking tentacle. All right, resource phase. Bear of War will exhaust to draw 2 cards. And we got Steward of Gondor. Very good. Let's go ahead and play Deep Knowledge. Doom 2. Each player draws 2 cards. All right, let's go ahead and play a good harvest. Name a sphere. Until the end of the phase, you can spend resources of any sphere when paying for cards that belong to the named sphere. We're going to say leadership and spend a resource from Frodo's pool and Boromir's. And we're going to play Steward of Gondor and attach it to Boromir. We'll exhaust that to get 2 resources back. And then I'm going to play Dagger of Westernesse and attach this to Boromir. Attached hero gets +1 attack, so his attack is going to be 4. And then an additional attack if the enemy has an engagement cost higher than our threat. So I'll put that attack here on the actual Dagger of Westernesse. So it could be 5, but most of these tentacle enemies have engagement costs lower than what our threat's going to be at generally. So I'm going to save this feint for this choking tentacle, and I'm going to leave Frodo ready so that we can attack back with Boromir and Frodo and destroy him. So let's see what we get during saging. There's another choking tentacle. All right, that's kind of a tough situation. But our threat goes up by 4. And we have 2 choking tentacles. It's one of the harder first round situations. So these guys, all the tentacles have effects that boost them when they attack or when they defend. And so in this case, these will just attack us, and after resolving an attack made by a choking tentacle, discard the top card of the encounter deck. If that card has a shadow effect or is a tentacle enemy, attach choking tentacle to a character the defending player controls as a tentacle attachment. Forced after attached character readies, deal it 1 damage. Okay, so we're going to definitely cancel one of the attacks with feint, combat action, cancel an attack. And then the other one is going to attack for 5, and we're going to take it undefended. 5 attack on Boromir. That's quite a lot of... Yeah, I guess we'll... because Boromir could attack both of these guys. So yeah, let's take it undefended. So 5 attack. And it says defending player must discard 1 resource from each hero he controls. So we lost that resource on Barivor. So 5 attack undefended, we'll put it on Frodo and use his response. Response: after Frodo Baggins is damaged, cancel the damage and instead raise your threat by the amount of damage he would have been dealt. 5 damage. And it says, after resolving an attack made by a choking tentacle, discard the top card of the encounter deck. It says, if that card has a shadow effect, or if it's a tentacle enemy, we will attach this card, choking tentacle, to a character the defending player controls as a tentacle attachment with the text, forced after an attached character readies, deal it 1 damage. It has a shadow effect. So the nice thing is this tentacle leaves play and it grabs hold of us. We'll attach it to Frodo. And so we need to remember that anytime he readies, we deal him 1 damage. But the nice thing with Frodo is that he'll only ready during the refresh phase, and we can just use his response during the refresh phase. It's not worth having. I used to have Power of Orthanc in the deck, but it's just not worth it. I cannot remember the last time this happened to me where I had a choking tentacle attach. So this is a rarity for sure. But we're going to attack for 4 and 5 and destroy a choking tentacle. And we're going to refresh. When we do, Frodo is damaged, and we'll use his... we'll put it on him. We'll save our response. He can deal with a point of damage on him. And we lost the resource for Peace and Thought. That's a real bummer. Next round. Not my favorite first round ever against this quest. Okay, Barivor draws us 2 cards. And we'll go ahead and put out Gondorian Shield, which will give Boromir +2 defense. So his defense is at 4 now. And we can't afford Arwen. Let's just quest with Frodo and reveal Perilous Swamp. Our threat goes up by 2. We'll travel here, and we'll refresh. And whenever Frodo refreshes, he's damaged. We'll cancel that, and our threat has to go up by 1. Now let's play Peace and Thought. Refresh action. Exhaust 2 heroes to draw 5 cards. We'll exhaust Frodo and Boromir and draw 5 cards. It's very important that we always use these 2 heroes. You want to use Berevor's card draw. All right, so next round. Steward of Gondor, Berevor draws us 2 cards. And let's go ahead and play Arwen Undomiel. And she has her response when she exhausts. We get to boost a character by +1 defense, and it gets Sentinel. We'll always put that on Boromir. He'll be our defender moving forward. I want to play Peace and Thought at the end of the round, so I'm going to save this resource on Berevor. Let's go ahead and put out Song of Kings and attach that to Boromir just in case we need to sneak attack Gandalf into play. And now that we actually have a Song of Kings, there is a hero that has a leadership resource icon. It's Boromir. And so we can afford to play We Are Not Idle, or we can not afford, but we can actually do it. You can't use Good Harvest to pay for 0 cost because it converts resources, but this just gives us a leadership resource icon. So now we can play a leadership card. Action. Exhaust X dwarf heroes to add X resources to a hero's resource pool. 0 dwarves, 0 resources, but we do draw a card. And I think I'll go ahead and sneak attack Gandalf into play. And I could lower my threat. So there's a card that has Doom 5 on it. Actually, a couple of cards. Stagnant Creek can result in Doom 5, and then Disturbed Waters results in Doom 5. I think we'll go ahead and lower our threat by 5. And we'll quest with Gandalf and Arwen and reveal Disturbed Waters Doom 5. And we made 6 progress, but very thematically, we have to struggle to get through the swamp. No more than 1 progress token can be placed on Perilous Swamp each round, so it buffers us. We can't make progress onto the west door. Gandalf comes back to end of hand, or comes back to hand at the end of the quest phase. And we'll refresh and play, and when we're ready, we have to use Frodo's response to negate that point of damage on Frodo. Berevor will pay for a Peace and Thought. Refresh action. Exhaust 2 heroes to draw 5 cards. And we'll move on to the next round. Berevor will draw 2 cards. All right, so there are several duplicates in this deck. There are also some cards that are in the deck just for Doors of Durin. Let's play We Are Not Idle to draw a card. So I'm going to create a trash pile just so that I can actually see things. We don't need a second Dagger of Westerness or a second Gondorian Shield. We don't really need Thor's Map. That's just for Doors of Durin. We don't need a second or a third Song of Kings. I might put a Song of Kings eventually on Berevor, but just to save resources on Boromir, but probably not. So it just helps me to have a cleaner hand. Let's go ahead and play Gondorian Fire and attach it to Boromir. Attached to a Gondor hero. He is a Gondor hero. Or Dunedain. Let's play Deep Knowledge Doom 2. Draw 2 cards. Can't play another one. Let's go ahead and let's play Hinemarth and use his action to look at the top card. Okay, it's going to be wrapped. That's good. So I don't need to worry about bringing Gandalf into play here. Let's just quest with Arwen. And we reveal Wrapped. When revealed, the first player attaches Wrapped to a hero he controls. It says counts as a tentacle attachment with a text limit 1 per hero. Attached hero cannot exhaust or ready. At the end of the round, discard attached hero from play. Kind of bad. Combat action, though, exhaust a hero you control with a tentacle attachment to discard wrapped. So that attaches to Frodo, and we made 2 progress. Actually, let's go ahead and play Elrond's Council, lowering our threat by 3. And so we made 3 progress. 1, which we can put on Perilous Swamp, and then 2, 3. Very good. All right, so now during the combat phase, we have an action window here. Let's ready Boromir. We can do this once per phase. We can ready him at the cost of raising our threat by 1. And now we'll take this combat action and exhaust him to discard wrapped. Refresh, and when Frodo refreshes, Choking Tentacle does a damage on Frodo. That's why I played Elrond's Council. Otherwise, we would have lost the game when we refreshed. Okay, so resource phase. Steward of Gondor, Bearvor draws us 2 cards. Let's see what's coming with Hinnemarth. Okay, Writhing Tentacles, fine. We will quest with Arwen and reveal Writhing Tentacle. And we're going to play Straight Shot. Action, exhaust a weapon attachment to choose a non-unique enemy with 0 defense. Discard the chosen enemy. We'll exhaust Dagger of Westerness to discard him. We'll play Elrond's Council to lower a threat. And we can't boost Arwen with that because she can't boost. It says +1 willpower. Give another character +1 willpower. But she just made 2 progress, which is fine. And, we didn't even exhaust Frodo. So that means that Choking Tentacle won't do a point of damage. So moving forward, I'll probably stop questing with Frodo. I don't really need to. And sometimes against Choking Tentacle in particular, he's helpful. Refresh. And I guess let's play Deep Knowledge, Doom 2. Draw 2 cards. I was trying to get a Peace and Thought, but I might have already played all 3. I don't think so. 1, 2. Oh, yeah, I just played 2. Okay, next round. Steward of Gondor, Bearvor draws us 2 cards. And what's coming, Hinnemarth? It is Disturbed Waters. Okay, so we definitely want to lower our threat with Gandalf here. Let's go ahead and spend a resource from Bearvor's pool to attach Song of Kings to Bearvor. And we're going to sneak attack Gandalf into play and lower a threat by 5. And quest with him. And just him for now. And we reveal Disturbed Waters, Doom 5. Gandalf comes back to hand. Refresh. And, again, Frodo's not having to refresh, so Choking Tentacle's not really hurting us. Next round. Steward of Gondor, Bearvor draws us 2 cards. What's coming? Bitter Wind. Okay. Boy, we're going to lose some resources on Frodo. I hate that. There are 3 Aether Swordsmen in this deck, and I was saving up resources to pay for Aether Swordsmen. So 3 of these cards are Aether Swordsmen. There's no way to draw them. Well, I'm tempted. I don't want to lose those resources. How many Elrond's Councils have I played? 1 and 2. Okay, so what I could do is sneak attack Gandalf in during planning and draw 3 cards. But if I didn't draw Elrond's Council, I would lose the game. Because during the refresh phase, my threat would go up. So I can't risk that. Ugh. Let me think. Well, I could just play Gandalf right now and let me see. How many sneak attacks are here? I'm just trying to optimize this sneak. Yeah. I hate losing these resources on Frodo. It's fine, though. Just being greedy. Can I draw cards in any way? All right, let's stop wasting time here. We will go ahead and sneak attack Gandalf into play during questing and draw and reduce our threat by 5. We'll quest. And again, we're not going to send Frodo on the quest. We reveal Bitter Wind. When revealed, the first player must discard 3 resources from each hero he controls. So 1, 2, 3, and we lost one on 3 on Boromir. We made 6 progress. And Gandalf came back to hand at the end of questing. And now we refresh and we don't lose the game because of Gandalf. And next round. There's an Aether Swordsman, which we can afford. Let's just play it. Each Outlands character you control gets +1 willpower. Bearvor draws us 2 cards. Okay, so all 3 sneak attacks have been discarded. We just have to think about lowering our threat. We need to. We could do it with Elrond's Council, just in case we get that Doom 5. Either Stagnant Creek or Disturbed Waters could result in that. But let's just see what's coming. Thrashing Tentacles. So yeah, I just remembered that we could actually look. So we'll quest with Arwen. And we'll play Elrond's Council just to lower threat. But we can't boost Arwen. And we'll go ahead and get rid of Thrashing Tentacle by playing a Straight Shot. And he's gone. We made 2 progress and did not clear to the west door. Refresh. And next round. Steward of Gondor. I'm going to wait one more round before I move on. Grasping Tentacles coming out. Okay, let's just quest with Arwen. It doesn't really matter. We won't quest with anybody here. And we reveal Grasping Tentacle, and I'll get rid of it with Straight Shot. Bearvor will draw us a card. It's going to be We Are Not Idle. Okay, refresh. And let's go ahead and play Will of the West. We've played all of our Elrond's Councils. We've played all of our sneak attacks. Will of the West action. Choose a player. Shuffle that player's discard pile into his deck. Remove Will of the West from the game. So all these cards back in our deck. And of course, this is why I don't really worry about Choking Tentacle as a forced effect. Frodo can deal with it, and we can just keep from exhausting him ultimately if we need to. All right, just to draw some cards, let's play Peace and Thought. Exhaust 2 heroes to draw 5 cards. And we'll play We Are Not Idle to draw a card. I need to make sure that I have one We Are Not Idle in hand. I can play another one, draw a card. I want to put one piece of Peace and Thought up here just so I don't accidentally discard it. Okay, next round. Steward of Gondor. Bearvor draws 2 cards. And we can move on here, actually. We just need to leave Hinomarth ready if we're going to move on. So let's sneak attack Gandalf into play. And lower our threat by 5. And we're going to quest and reveal Turbulent Waters. While Turbulent Waters is the active location, players cannot optionally engage enemies. We made 5 progress and advanced. The Seething Lake. The others swung round and saw the waters of the lake seething, as if a host of snakes were swimming up from the southern end, the Fellowship of the Ring. The doors of Durin are blocked by an ancient spell. You must figure out a way into the mines before the seething bog and its watcher consumes you all. When revealed, add the watcher to the staging area. Here it is. 50 engagement. While it's in the staging area, it cannot be damaged by player card effects. It's worth mentioning that while Doors of Durin is in play, the watcher cannot be engaged. If the watcher is in the staging area at the end of the combat phase, each player must deal 3 damage to one character he controls. So Frodo could do that at the end of the combat phase if needed. Actually, you'd have to be careful though, because end of the combat phase is actually the refresh phase, so he would die from Choking Tentacle. Interesting. Doors of Durin becomes the active location. Any other active location would be moved. And then we shuffle all tentacle cards in the encounter discard pile back into the encounter deck. That would be all the enemies, because all enemies are tentacle enemies in this quest. And there are some treacheries that are tentacle type. Wrapped is one of them. There were a couple of wraps here. This one as well, pulled under. Okay, so everything's back here. In the original quest, if the players have at least 3 victory points and defeat this stage, they have won the game. But here it says players cannot win the game unless both Doors of Durin and the Watcher are in the victory display. Okay, we're in the quest resolution. Let's go ahead and use... Well, no. Gandalf comes back to hand at the end of quest phase. During the travel phase, we have an action window here. No. Let's do this at the quest phase. So Gandalf's still out. Okay, here's the action window after quest resolution. Let's use Hinomarth's action. Exhaust Hinomarth Riversong to look at the top card of the encounter deck. Okay, it is Rippling from Beneath. Okay, it's one of the only cards I don't have a matching letter for. I just don't have an R. Let me make sure that's right. Yeah, there's only a couple of Rippling from Beneath. It's just one gap in my deck, so I can't get rid of Doors of Durin. So there's an action. Each player must discard any number of cards from his hand, then discard the top card of the encounter deck. If the first letter of the encounter card's title matches that of one of the discarded player cards, add Doors of Durin to your victory display. Well, this I can't match it because I don't have an R. So I was trying to take that action. I was going to try to get rid of Doors of Durin during the action window here so that I could then travel here to Turbulent Waters, but it's all good. Gandalf comes back to hand at the end of questing. Can't take this action, so it's just going to stay in play for now. During the encounter phase, the Watcher cannot be engaged while Doors of Durin is in play. And it says if the Watcher is in the staging area at the end of the combat phase, each player must deal 3 damage to one character he controls. I'm not going to put that on Frodo because this would apply at the end of combat. That's considered the refresh phase. And so then he wouldn't be able to use his once per phase to save himself from Choking Tentacle. So let's put that on Barivor. And refresh, and when Frodo refreshes, our threat goes up by 1. And so we know it's coming next round. It's, well, at least the first card that's coming. Okay, next round. And we can't attack Watcher. he cannot be damaged by player card effects, and he can't be engaged, so he just sits here for now. Let's draw 2 cards with Barivore. And let's go ahead and get out all of our Aether Swordsmen. And we can even play a Good Harvest to name Spirit. And so there we go. We got all of them out. And we'll quest with them and with Arwen. And we'll go ahead and play Elrond's Councils, lowering our threat and boosting, this is, let's say, one of the Aether Swordsmen. And that should be enough. We reveal Rippling from beneath. It's going to surge. When revealed, shuffle X tentacle enemies from the encounter discard pile into the encounter deck. Heal X damage from the Watcher if it is in play. X is the number of players in the game. There aren't any tentacle enemies in the encounter discard pile. So nothing happens. That surges into Grasping Tentacle, which we'll just get rid of with a straight shot. We made 9 progress, and it says progress tokens that would be placed on Doors of Durin are instead placed on the current quest card. So 9 progress made. And to go straight here onto Seething Lake. That's quest resolution. We're in that same action window we were in last round. Let's use Hinnemarth to look. Okay, it's Perilous Swamp. And we do have a card in hand that starts with a P. It's Peace and Thought. So let's take this action. Action, each player may discard any number of cards from his hand. Let's discard a single Peace and Thought. Then discard the top card of the encounter deck, which is Perilous Swamp. If the first letter of the encounter card's title matches that of one of the discarded player cards, add Doors of Durin to the victory display. So there's match, goes to the victory display. So we're halfway there. Now we just have to destroy the Watcher. During the travel phase, we'll travel to Turbulent Waters. Actually, we don't want to, because while Turbulent Waters is the active location, players cannot optionally engage enemies. And we just want to win the game here. So we're going to optionally engage the Watcher during the encounter phase. And now we're in combat phase, and we're going to sneak attack Gandalf into play and do damage to the Watcher. 4 damage with Gandalf's response. All right, so the Watcher wants to attack us for 7, but we're just going to cancel that with Feint. He cannot attack us. And now we're going to attack back and destroy him. We're going to use Boromir's action on Gondorian Fire. Spend 1 resource from attached hero's resource pool to give attached hero +1 attack for each resource in its resource pool until the end of the phase. So I'll just pay the resource for that. And so that's 21 plus 4 plus 1 here. So he's at 26. 26 attack for the remainder of the phase. And so now we can attack the Watcher for 26. Well, we'll just do 26 and 4 will just be nice and round. 30 minus 7 is 23. That's going to be 27 damage total on the Watcher. He goes to the victory display, and we've made the necessary progress on the Seething Lake. And we've made the met the requirements. Players cannot win the game unless both Doors of Durin and the Watcher are in the victory display, and they are. So we won in 11 rounds. So that was maybe I guess it's not a bad thing that I had maybe a more difficult playthrough. Usually I just don't struggle at all, but getting 2 choking tentacles right out of the gate, that was different. There have been a few times where a few things happened that weren't advantageous for us, but you could see that we're in the driver's seat. You just keep your threat from, you just don't ever want to go to 45 and then in undisturbed waters or a disturbed waters end your game. So you have to be careful. Just keep your threat low. You've got plenty of tools with Gandalf. You've got Elrond's Council. I never did this, but Grasping Tentacle is a thing you never want to attack because it could take a character's attack and defense down to 0. But just attacking this with Gandalf is the way to go. If you sneak attack Gandalf into play, and this somehow, if it actually attaches to Gandalf, then you don't mind, because when he comes back to hand, you're going to lose the attachment. And we saw, I think I did a discard or two on some of these enemies that have 0 defense, like this one here, Writhing Tentacle, is so great just to get rid of with a straight shot. And you have to be methodical and think about, okay, I don't want this guy to attack me. I'll deal with him with straight shot or Gandalf's response, that kind of thing. And you can see we could have drawn more cards with Deep Knowledge, but you have the one Will of the West, and so you don't want to be too shy. But before you play Will of the West, make sure to play all 3 sneak attacks, all 3 Elrond's councils, and you'll be fine. Well, that is it. That's the quest. Not my favorite Nightmare version. It wasn't that big of an improvement. Maybe not even an improvement. But I do like that they got rid of all the enemies except tentacles. So we're really focused on the boss instead of like, hey, there's an orc or there's a warg swimming around. I don't know. That just felt maybe a little silly. So that's a big improvement, I guess. Well, I hope you enjoyed it and that you'll join me again next time as we continue with the Dwerodelf Nightmare cycle. So have a great day. Thanks again for joining me.